Hello. In this recording, we're going to talk about the discussion which we were having yesterday about the summary of economics survey. This is going to be useful for students who are appearing for different economics entrances. Just a small points here and there. Main points from economics survey has been taken up out here. Agriculture and food management. So as far as agricultural sector is concerned, survey is telling you that it has experienced a good growth. In 2020 and 21, the sector was growing at 3.6%. In 21-22, it grew at 3.9%. And the share in the gross value added of the agricultural sector is 18.8%, right? And the major sectors which are driving the growth of the agricultural sector, the high growth sector, are the livestock sector, dairying sector, fisheries sector. They are the major drivers of the agricultural sector, the growth in the agricultural sector. And the government also has taken up many measures to augment the production, to augment the domestic supply as far as edible oils are concerned, oil seeds are concerned. Government has taken up many interventions in the sugarcane sector as well, and it has also taken up steps to promote crop diversification. And government has used the MSP policy to promote crop diversification. So as far as the irrigated area is concerned, 49% of the total irrigated area is 49% of the total net sown area. And out of that irrigated area, 40% of that area is irrigated through canals and 60% through the groundwater. This is the current situation. High growth sectors I've just told you: animal husbandry, dairy, fisheries, livestock. And as far as livestock sector is concerned, that is growing at around 8.5%, 8.15%, right? And this has been also, as the survey says, that this has been a very stable source of income for many agricultural households as well. And government is also helping the food processing sector. So food processing is that you are converting raw materials into food, or you're converting the form of the food, right? So that is the food processing sector. And government has taken up many steps for the infrastructure development for the food processing sector. It has taken up steps to subsidize transportation and support for the formalization of the micro food enterprises also. So taking them into the formalized economy. And the government has also taken up steps to improve the food security through the schemes like PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. There are 2 or 3 more points which I just want to write. As far as the gross capital formation in the agricultural sector is concerned, it has been fluctuating, right? So it was around 18.2% in 2011-12. And it fell to 15.9% in 2019 and 20, right? So as far as the public investment in agriculture is concerned, that is ranging between 2.4 to 2.9%. But the private sector investment has fluctuated. So public sector investment in agriculture is more or less stable, but the private sector investment in agriculture, that has fluctuated. So the survey has said this, that there should be the focused and the targeted approach of the center and the states to incentivize the private investment in this sector, right? And also the public investment. And there should be more crop diversification towards the other crops, like, for example, towards oil seeds, pulses, horticulture. So crop diversification has to be supported. And for this, you need irrigation. For this, you need investment. For this, you need credit. For this, you need markets also. So what will I do for crop diversification if I do not have a market for that, right? So, and the survey says this, that you need the coordinated action from the center and the states in order to promote crop diversification, right? So this is I want to do as far as the agricultural sector summary is concerned. Industry and infrastructure. So as far as the growth of IIP is concerned, so it contracted by 15.3% in April to November 2020. And for the corresponding period in 2021, it again grew at 17.4%. And what is IIP? It is a measure of industrial performance that is assigning weights to manufacturing, to mining, and to electricity. And it assigns 78% weight to manufacturing, your 14% weight to mining, and 8% weight to electricity. Weight to electricity. So this is the measure of the industrial performance. And when this measure is growing, it means that industry is performing well. So, and how do we find that industrial sector, it grew in 2021? One, economy opened up. So when economy opened up, the entire industrial activity it picked up, and hence industrial sector also grew. There was the wide vaccination coverage. So when health of the people was fine, then everyone was coming to work and was engaging in economic activity. There was an increased consumer demand. So in 2020, basically, when you had the first lockdown, so it was that was a very cruel period in which there was no economic, there was almost the shutdown of most of the economic activities. So there was a lot of pent-up demand when economy opened up, and thus it increased the consumer demand. Government also provided a lot of policy support in terms of, for example, in Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And government created schemes in which there was an easy access of credit to the firms. So when they have investment, they have funds with them, they will be able to expand, and hence will be able to expand their production. And the government also took steps for the infrastructure development. And for this, survey gave following evidences that just look at it, that see, our railways is improving, our roadways are improving, and our corporates are also improving. So the evidence which the survey gave in terms of the development in railways, they say this, that the capital expenditure has increased several times today as compared to what it was in 2019 to 14 period. Roadways also, survey gives that, just have a look at this, just see how far we have come, because the road construction per day in 2019-20, it was just 28 kilometers per day, while it increased to 36.5 kilometers per day in 2020-21. Survey also give one evidence in terms of corporates, that they say this, that the net profit to sale ratio of the large corporates, it is sitting at 10.6% in July to September 2021. And this is despite that pandemic has not gone completely. This is what survey is saying. So survey gave few examples, a few evidences how the infrastructure sector is also developing. And then there were several production-linked schemes, production-linked incentive schemes, which were taken up by the government. They were the measures which the government took to reduce the transaction cost, and improve the ease of doing business in the country. All of this led to the improvement in the economic activity, improvement in the industrial economic activity. As far as the gross capital formation, gross fixed capital formation is concerned, the share of industrial sector in the total gross fixed capital formation in the country is 30.1%. Share of the industrial sector in the total gross fixed capital formation is 30.1%. So an industrial sector, they say that it is estimated that is going to grow by 11.8% in 2021-22, while it contracted in 2020-21 by 7%. And survey also give these data points. It says this, that if you look at the last decade, then the manufacturing sector's share in the gross value added is sitting at 16.3%. But due to pandemic, it fell to 14.4% in 2020-21. But survey says this, that it is manufacturing sector is expected to grow at 15.3% in 2021-22. So this is the small summary as far as industrial sector is concerned from economic survey. Services sector. So as far as services sector is concerned, the share of services sector in India's gross value added is 53%. It was 55% in 2019-20. In 2021-22, it fell to 53%, right? And this may be because of the pandemic, but as far as services sector is concerned, it has crossed the pre-pandemic level in July-September 2021-22. But there are some subsectors of the services sector which still requires a lot of human contact. So those sectors are still below the pre-pandemic levels, sectors such as trade, transport, etc. So those are still below the pre-pandemic level. So this is about the survey which is written in January 2022, right? And they say this, that if you look at the services sector, the FDI which the services sector is getting, it is almost 54% of the total FDI which India is getting. So it is the major recipient of the total FDI. And secondly, it is getting, in the first half of 2021, it is getting $16.7 billion of FDI. And government has also taken up many reforms. One, the government has opened up the space sector to the private players. Government has removed certain regulations from the telecom sector. And as far as services sector exports are concerned, the government survey says this, that it has surpassed the pre-pandemic levels, right? And in the first half of 2020-21, it was growing at around 21.6%. And the major reason of these increase in the export could be the increase in the demand for the software exports and the IT services export. And they say this, that India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world after US and China. This is an important point. So the number of new recognized startups, they increased from 733 in 2016-17 to 14,000 in 2021-22. And the survey also tells you this, that 44 Indian startups, they have achieved the status of unicorn. So unicorn is the privately held startup company which is valued at over $1 billion US. So the total number of unicorns in India is 83, and most of which are in the services sector. And then there is one point as far as the patents is concerned. So they say this, that the number of patents which are filed in India in 2010-11, it was 39,400. And this increased in 2020-21, 58,502. Patents filed. And the number of patents granted in the same period, this increased to 7,509 in 2010-11 to 28,391. Now, the point is that they say that, of course, this looks huge, but if you look at the the amount of patents granted in the other countries, for example, US, China, Japan, Korea, you'll find that this is a fraction of the number of patents filed and granted. And the reason that that very less number of patents are filed in our country is because that there is the low expenditure on research and development, right? So, and the procedural delays are also there in granting the patents. So they say this, that in 2020, the average pendency for the final decision in acquiring patent, it was 40 months. In comparison, in US, it was just 20.8 months, and in China, it is just 20 months. So the more time you take to grant patent, the less incentivized the investor is going to be, inventor is going to be. So the point is that we have to have the strategy through which we can reduce the procedural delays here. Social infrastructure and employment. As far as employment is concerned, survey at least is saying that employment indicators, they have bounced back to the pre-pandemic levels during the last quarter of 2020 and 2021. So they say this, that if you look at the unemployment in the urban sector, so in January to March 2021, it was 9.3%, while it increased to 20.8% in April, June 2020. That is the unemployment in the urban sector. So you actually need to look at other sources as well in order to find out what is the actual unemployment. The survey is basically trying to portray all the good things which the government is doing. So yes, indeed, it has done whatever it can do, but there are many fronts on which the government still has to do more. So you will have to take things with caution here. So, but still, I mean, we just have to, this is just the summary of what has been written in survey. And they say this, that you find this decline in unemployment, mainly because there is continued formalization of jobs also. And this is evidenced by the Employee Provident Fund Organization data also. And there are the increased funds allotment to the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme to provide the necessary buffer for the unorganized sector during the time of pandemic. So this is what the government has done as far as the employment is concerned. Social infrastructure. They say this, that the expenditure on social services, education, health, employment, etc., by the center and states as a proportion of GDP, it has increased from 6.2% in 2014-15 to 8.6% in 2021-22. And they also give an evidence that if you look at the other indicators, health indicators also, your National Family Health Survey 5, you look at that, the TFR has reduced from 2.2 in 2015-16 to 2 in 2019-21. The conditions for infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, and the that has improved, and most of the births, they are in the institution. So institutional births have increased. If you compare what has happened in 2019-21 as compared to 2015-16. So these are the different evidences that which survey is trying to tell that our social infrastructure has improved. Then the another indicator which survey is trying to give you is if you look at Jal Jeevan Mission, 83 districts have become the Har Ghar Jal districts. And the survey is also cited from the annual survey education report, which found that during the pandemic, the children aged from 6 to 14 years who should have been in the school, but they are not currently enrolled in school. So that proportion has increased from 2.5% to 4.6%. So that they are saying that this is due to the pandemic. And survey also gave you the list of the reasons that why during pandemic, particularly in the rural areas, more children have moved out of the private schools toward the government school. One, in the rural areas, there was the possibility of the low-cost private schools, and those low-cost private schools were not more profitable, so they were shut down during pandemic. Financial distress of parents was also one of the reasons why people would have moved their children from the private school towards the government schools in the rural areas. In government schools, they say that you get free facilities also, which may not be possible in the private school, because for those facilities as well, you have to pay. And most of the families, they are migrating back to villages because during pandemic, they didn't have jobs in the urban areas or in the semi-urban areas. So they moved back. So due to these reasons, we find that the number of children in the rural areas who were enrolled in the private schools, they are going now to the government school. So these were the few points as far as the economic survey is concerned. So I hope you like this video, right? Thank you, Beta.